The entire story unfolds at once. An exciting tale begins now. In the middle of the night, I accidentally sent my wife's kissing emoji to my sworn enemy. As a result, she stayed up all night. At 1 a.m., she posted something. At around 2 a.m., still pulling pranks despite being all grown up. At 3 a.m., who wants to be your wife? At 4 a.m., if you want a kiss, it's not entirely impossible. At 5 a.m., husband, let's kiss. At 6 a.m., husband, hug me. Even my sworn enemy made a rare social media post. My boyfriend hasn't replied all night. What should I do? Waiting online, quite anxious. My sworn enemy is also my childhood friend. Our families have been close for generations. We grew up together. In our first year of high school, when Licia was in grade 1, due to business expansion, Uncle Lee's family moved to another city. Licia and I didn't see each other for 3 years. Just classmates. I've liked you for a long time. Can I have a chance to pursue you? On a shaded path at school, I gazed at the younger student in front of me, full of anticipation. Before I could respond, Licia suddenly appeared out of nowhere. You're so scrawny like this. When you go out, are you protecting her or is she protecting you? I instantly wanted to crawl into a hole. Mocked again. If it happens once, it's an accident. But if it happens multiple times, it's deliberate. Once I train and bulk up, becoming a manly muscle-bound guy, an upperclassman confessed to me. But then she said I looked like I'd be violent at home with all that muscle. If I'm big, I get called dull and dark. If I'm too dark, standing next to her looks like we're cosplaying the higher brothers. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Licia, are you messing with me on purpose? After 3 years without seeing each other, you're still as annoying as ever. Licia and I have been bickering and fighting ever since we were kids. But this time, after reuniting, as I spoke to her softly, she looked like she had seen a ghost. Finally, the moment she saw me lose my cool and insult her, she showed a relieved expression. From my understanding of Licia, that look was saying, 3 years apart and you haven't grown a bit taller. Ever since that day, she made me so furious. That night, I chatted all night with my best friend. In the end, we were both too tired to stay awake. As usual, we exchanged good nights. He sent me a husband hug emoji. I replied with a wife kiss emoji. But at that very moment, something went wrong. I accidentally sent the emoji to Licia. When I woke up the next morning and checked my phone, I had 99 plus unread messages, all from Licia. I clicked into read. Good morning, husband. It's time to wake up. Before I could even respond, she instantly deleted the message. Good morning, baby. And then deleted that too. In the end, she only left a laughing emoji. I laughed out loud. What kind of craziness was she on this morning? But as I scrolled through the messages, my heart grew colder with each one. What had I done? I sent the emoji meant for my best friend to Licia instead. And somehow, Licia had ended up flirting with herself. Oh my god. Although Licia and I had each other's contact information, we had never actually chatted before. When she left initially, she stubbornly insisted that I pin her at the top of my chats. That pin stayed there for 3 years. Meanwhile, the other pinned chat belonged to my close buddy. Out of curiosity, I opened Licia's social feed. It had always been a barren timeline, but now there was a new post. At 6 in the morning, Licia posted, "What do you do when your boyfriend doesn't reply all night?" The accompanying image was of a cute dog holding a sign. The sign said, "Waiting online. It's urgent." Are you still asleep? There's an 8 a.m. class. It's already 7:30 now. But don't worry. I've already bought breakfast for you. No rush. I didn't reply to Licia's message until I left the dorm. It was just too awkward. As soon as I stepped outside the dormitory, I was caught red-handed by Licia waiting downstairs. Why didn't you reply to my message, Mr. Innocent? I looked up, just about to give my usual teasing response. but was startled by the slightly resentful look on her face. I had my phone on silent. A perfectly reasonable excuse. Licia obviously believed it. That emoji you sent last night. What if I told you I sent it to the wrong person? Would you believe me? Her smile didn't even have time to fully bloom before freezing on her face. Ha ha, I knew it. I was just thinking, how could you send me something like that? Actually, last night I was totally knocked out. Do you believe me? At 8 a.m., the gossip was already circulating. Now everyone was talking about Licia and me showing up to bring breakfast before an 8 a.m. class. That's true love right there. Is that girl the new freshman representative, Licia? Yeah, I think the senior knows her. She's a top student in our major. Even got a guaranteed admission. Wait, are they in a sibling relationship? Here, they've arrived. For a moment, I couldn't even tell if it was the misunderstanding from everyone around me, or Licia's playful words that made me feel more embarrassed, or maybe both just drained all my energy. Forget it. I might as well tell the truth. I wasn't knocked out at all. I came to Nanjing University just to chase after you. I've liked you for a long time. Bada. Ever since Licia's sudden confession, I've been in a daze all day, feeling utterly confused. Even when talking to my roommates, I kept zoning out. Huh? Where were we just now? The school was holding a debate competition, and my roommates and I were participating. I noticed ever since you talked to that little beauty earlier, you've been distracted. Something's up. My roommate smelled the scent of gossip. He crossed his arms and stared at me intently, with a look that said, confess now for leniency. Come on, nothing's going on. I just didn't sleep well last night, that's all. My roommate was a huge gossip. If I told him, the whole dormitory would know in no time. I put on my most sincere face. Reluctantly, my roommate let it go. The debate was still pretty interesting though. He had sent me all the materials. If you had a superpower that could make the person you love fall in love with you, would you use it? The proposition argued to use it. The opposition argued against it. We were on the opposition side. I stared at the material my roommate sent me. This debate topic is indeed intriguing. I heard the opposing team has freshman debaters. This debate is going to be the last one for us seniors. We have to finish it with a perfect ending. My roommate, while preparing his speech, fired himself up with enthusiasm. I couldn't help but smile helplessly. Then I started reviewing the debate materials carefully. But as I scrolled through the opposing team's profiles, my fingers froze mid-motion. Licia, second debater for the proposition team, and she was paired directly against me. I suddenly remembered what Licia said this morning. She told me she was serious. I must have done a poor job hiding my reaction back then. I told her the joke wasn't funny at all, that I was going to be late for class. And then I bolted, practically running away. Even by evening, our chat remained frozen at the morning's conversation. Licia's social feed had gone back to its usual silence. Neither of us made any effort to reach out. Until the debate, the moment Licia stepped on stage. A wave of cheers erupted from the underclassmen. Hey, isn't that Licia, the one who came looking for you under the dorm last time? She's pretty popular, huh? I followed my roommate's gaze. Indeed, she had a tall, slender figure, dressed in a perfectly tailored dress. The sleeves of the inner dress were slightly rolled up, revealing her delicate wrist. Her long, graceful fingers flipped through the debate notes. She looked composed and distant. This version of Licia was someone I had never seen before. Maybe my intense gaze was too obvious. Licia seemed to sense it and raised her head. In that brief moment when our eyes met, she stared at me without hesitation. But those eyes no longer had the sparkle they once held. They were dark and heavy. Our team believes we should use the superpower. Love is the surrender of free will. Right now, my dilemma is unrequited love. And this supernatural power is like a red thread of destiny controlled by the god of love. One end connects me, the other connects him. It allows the one who doesn't love me to fall for me. This kind of fate is something I must seize. The first speaker finished. Seize the opportunity, even if the other person doesn't love you. This debate reminded me of Lishia's confession. The reason gods like Lo and Cupid are praised is because they unite those who are already in love, helping soulmates become life partners. But the opposing team's argument wavered in front of this. Sacrificing free will, making someone love you, isn't the work of Lo or Cupid. It's a trick. The heated debate continued until the final summaries. The opposing speaker was, of course, Lishia. She and her team argued that using such a superpower would rob the other person of the ability and freedom to choose who to love. Yes, I realized that this was the deeper question the debate brought to light. Love itself is a form of taking away, even without a superpower. In reality, those who love each other always give everything of themselves. We work so hard to make the other person believe that I am their destined one, believe that I am the person who loves them the most. But how could that ever truly be? There are just too many people in this world. Love is, after all, a noble lie. The price of this lie is that I take away the possibility of them falling for someone else. This act of selfishness, this taking, leaves me feeling forever in debt to them. I will spend my whole life making it up to them, loving them. Falling in love is nothing extraordinary, but staying in love, that's the challenge. The opposition claims my love is a form of taking away, but love itself is taking away. And now, even with the power to control love, I won't use it because I love them so much. How could I possibly hand them over to some unknown stranger? Love is the surrender of free will. You say you love with reason. I say you love with cowardice. In the end, we lost the debate. Mr. Innocent, I think we need to talk. In the cafe, Lishia and I sat across from each other, the light between us. The debate was really something. I finally broke the silence. Too bad there's no superpower in real life. But Lishia didn't respond to that. Did my abruptness that day make you feel pressured? There may be no superpower in life, she said, but I did say, you can give everything, all of your efforts. To be honest, I'm not sure when it happened. When I started liking you, I just know that when I see you, I feel like teasing you, making you a little angry. Watching your emotions change because of me. Looking back, it feels so foolish now. Lishia gave a self-deprecating smile. I froze. When we were younger, the adults always compared the two of us. And because Lishia was younger, she was always the one criticized. I thought she only picked on me because she was defiant. But liking someone should mean making them happy, not making them feel bad. I'm sorry, she said, but I still want to take away your right to love someone else. Could you give me a chance? Lishia confessed once again. This time, I seriously looked at her. The changes in the past 3 years had been so drastic. When we parted, she was shorter than me by 2 heads, a little chubby, her face round and plump. But now, looking at her again, I could barely recognize her. At 170 centimeters tall, she could be either sweet or fierce. Her sharp jawline and high-bridged nose. There was hardly any trace of the girl I once knew. But what stood out most were her almond-shaped eyes. Eyes so deep that they could drown anyone who looked into them. She gazed at me silently and with intense emotion. But I've always seen you as a little sister. I admitted I'm not the most decisive person when it comes to feelings, but because of who we are to each other. Just like my roommate said, Lishia is an exceptional woman, and if I hadn't known her from the start, if I had been on the receiving end of her pursuit, I think I would have fallen for her. Then don't see me as your little sister for now, she said softly. Just see me as a woman, okay? Lishia officially began pursuing me. Of course. After my strong insistence, she gave up the idea of making her confession publicly. Instead, she decided to quietly pursue me when it was just the two of us. Do you want to feel my spring warmth? I had no idea how Licia found out about my preferences, but she somehow knew I liked women with a great figure. I've got a nice butt too, she said. Her straightforward comment made me burst out laughing. At the same time, the slightly tense atmosphere between us was lightened by her playful words. There's no need to be so cautious, she said. Right now, I'm just Licia, a junior who happens to like you. Licia tried to sound casual, comforting me. But Licia, do you know your ears have turned red? This was the first time Licia and I went out officially. Over the past month, we had only increased the frequency of our online chats, and she would dash to my classroom after class to eat with me. Hey, Jibata. Didn't you say there was nothing going on between you two? My roommate teased, nudging my shoulder playfully, although I instinctively wanted to deny it. It was hard when the happiness in Licia's eyes was almost overflowing. She looked just like my roommate said, like a joyful puppy, and I had gotten used to her being by my side. When I studied in the library, she would sit across from me, watching me with full attention, occasionally breaking into a silly grin. When we went to buy bubble tea together, she would still be grinning like that. She had long since figured out my preferences. Boss, 1 jasmine milk tea, less ice, 30% sugar. Then she skillfully poked the straw into my cup. Do you want to try something different today? My thoughts drifted back. I stopped Licia from going to buy me the usual jasmine milk tea. I heard they have a new item, a sticky rice-flavored lemon tea. I was curious. I remembered my roommate's face after he tried that lemon tea. Apparently, it tasted like smelly feet. How is it? Does it taste good? I watched as Licia, completely unsuspecting, took a big sip of the lemon tea I handed her, like a mischievous child who had pulled off a prank. I waited eagerly for her reaction, my eyes sparkling with anticipation. But to my surprise, her expression didn't change at all. Instead, she showed a look of appreciation. It's really good. The sourness of the lemon combined with the fragrance of the sticky rice. It's quite nice. After saying that, she even took another sip, thoroughly enjoying it. Don't believe me, try it yourself. I eyed her suspiciously. But the online reviews of this tea were split down the middle. Some said it tasted like smelly feet, while others claimed it was a masterpiece. I took a sip and spat it out immediately. You liar, Licia. I barely took one sip, and the overwhelming stench hit me right away. Smelly feet straight to the brain. I couldn't hold it back, and gagged on the spot. Ha ha ha, fooled you. Licia burst into laughter, a triumphant grin on her face. I finally realized she had tricked me on purpose, hurting her enemy while also suffering herself. Such a terrible drink. Of course, we had to evaluate it together. I pretended to reach out, aiming to grab her, but Licia suddenly caught my hand instead. Even though it was just my wrist, I could feel my heart rate speeding up. Mr. Innocent, you haven't even realized it yourself, have you? You didn't mind drinking from the straw I used. And now you're teasing me, joking with me, instead of feeling distant or awkward. You must have some feelings for me now, right? Licia placed my hand on her chest. Your pulse is racing, she said. My heart is pounding too. Since you're a bit shy, I'll take the lead. If you don't have feelings for me, go ahead and take a sip of this lemon tea. But if you don't drink it, it means you like me. She shook the cup of lemon tea playfully, even bringing it right up to my mouth with a mischievous grin. Licia, you're cheating. Yes, I'm cheating. She watched my flushed face, smiling warmly with a look full of affection. So, will you drink it or not? I won't. I stubbornly turned my head away. I wasn't going to drink that disgusting tea a second time. All right, you won't drink. Licia laughed, amused by my reaction, her voice rising cheerfully at the end of her sentence. It sounded so joyful. With a swift motion, She tossed the lemon tea into the trash. I knew it, our Jibata likes me. Come on, let's go get jasmine milk tea. Licia tugged at my wrist, chatting away to herself, a smile playing on her lips that she couldn't hide at all. Who said I'm yours? I retorted. Alright then, give me a chance. So I can become yours, she teased. How boring! But it seemed like our relationship stopped at just that. I still couldn't bring myself to agree, to officially date Licia, to call her my girlfriend. Yet, I looked forward to being with her. It felt like there were two voices inside me arguing. One said, "How can you make a move on someone who grew up like your sister?" The other countered, "So what? You're not even related by blood." A sense of guilt and uncertainty kept swirling inside me. This was my internal struggle. Though I hadn't said it out loud, Licia understood. She stayed by my side quietly, waiting for me to let go of the self-imposed barriers and fully accept her. But sometimes she'd tease me, sending me pictures of herself in playful outfits, only to quickly retract them. Then she'd casually drop a comment like, "I admit, I kinda like your body too. By the way, next week's badminton match, can you bring me some water?" After retracting the pictures, she smoothly changed the subject again. "I only want to drink the water you bring me," she said. "Can I?" The last message was a voice note, her tone a little coquettish, and it slipped into my heart without warning. Some people pretend to be indifferent on the outside, but inside they're already overjoyed. Licia knew exactly how to make my heart bloom with happiness. When she was younger, getting her to call me Moon Brother was like asking for her life. But now, she voluntarily calls me brother. But first, you have to bring water for our team. Of course, we'll start with the people from our department. As luck would have it, our department was up against Licia's department. In the past, it was always the guys who bought and delivered water to the girls on the team and cheered them on. This year was no exception. "Fine," she said. "Though I'm a little disappointed. Just bring it to me. Win the championship, and I'll make you proud." She sent me a playful emoji of a smug little puppy. I couldn't bring myself to tease her back. When it came to badminton, she was truly a natural talent. But I had heard that the girls in our department had hired an outside player this year. That player, also a Nanjing University graduate, was coming back for the friendly match, and the referee had approved it. A balanced match would definitely be more exciting. But I never expected that this so-called outside player would be Yachi, my first love. She was the one I gave all my youthful innocence and naivety to. Oh crap! Did we seriously run out of players in our department? Those girls actually called her back. My roommate looked at the court with a face full of disbelief, watching Yachi greeting everyone warmly. And it wasn't surprising that my roommate was so upset. The breakup between Yachi and me hadn't been clean. It was my roommate who stuck by my side, helping me through the hardest and most heartbroken time of my life. So he knew exactly what Yachi meant to me. He felt genuinely indignant on my behalf. "Don't be like that, Yonian," I said. "It's all in the past. Yachi is skilled. It's normal for our classmates to want her on the team. Let's just watch the match." The game on the court was incredibly intense, both sides neck and neck. For a while, it was a deadlock. But in the end, our department narrowly won, leading by just 1 point. Everyone cheered. "Yachi, you're our MVP." Indeed. Against tight defense from the opposition, it was Yachi who found openings several times, breaking through. Without her, our team might not have won. "Hey, innocent," my roommate nudged me. "Do you want me to bring the water instead?" He looked at me with concern. Before this, the girls from our department had approached me, hoping I'd be the one to deliver the water to them. Their reason was simple. Not only was I good looking, but I was also a top student, debunking the stereotype about our department. Me delivering the water would give them bragging rights, and I happily agreed. "It's fine," I reassured my roommate. "Don't underestimate me. But if you're really worried, you can come with me to deliver the water. Even from a distance, I could feel Lishia's expectant gaze. She was still waiting for me to bring her the water. Jibata. Long time no see. I hadn't expected it. Before my roommate and I could even leave, Majiachi had already taken the initiative, walking over from the court to the bleachers. Suddenly, the classmates who knew about my past with Majiachi started cheering and making a commotion. "Do you have water for me?" she asked, her deep eyes locking with mine. In them, I saw my own reflection. With a faint smile on her lips, Majiachi remained polite and calm, like a breath of fresh spring air. "Here, drink up." My roommate, Zunyan, wasn't one to play nice with her. He grabbed a bottle of water from the box and shoved it into Majiachi's hand. "You're Jibata's roommate, Zunyan, right? Still as straightforward as ever, I see." Zunyan pulled me up, ready to leave. But Majiachi caught my other arm, stopping me. "Jibata, would you do me the honor of having dinner with me?" "No, you can't," came a sharp voice from ahead. Lishia's angry tone rang out as she stormed over, yanking Majiachi's hand off mine without hesitation, even wiping her own hand with a tissue deliberately. "You promised you'd bring me water, but I had to wait this long." She pulled me over to her side. "Do you want some water, classmate?" she said to Majiachi. "I still have a bottle here." Majiachi, thinking Lishia was offering to share, reached for it. But there was no water left in the box. Unopened, Lishia had none to give, so I offered mine. But before I could, Lishia, like a small, jealous puppy, glanced at Majiachi with an unfriendly look. "Forget it," she snapped. "I'll just drink from Jibata's." Without a second thought, she gulped down the half-full bottle I had in my hand, as if she were really that thirsty. "Slow down. No one's racing you to finish it." The moment I said that, silence fell. Majiachi, Lishia, and I were trapped in an awkward, tense moment. Yeah, no one's fighting me for the water. But some people, I guess, are competing for something else. Zun Yen muttered quietly. "Who is she?" Majiachi asked, her voice slightly uncertain. "I'm his future girlfriend," Lishia replied confidently. "And you, senior, please stop calling him Mr. Innocent so casually. It's over between you two." With that, Lishia firmly grabbed my arm and pulled me away in front of Majiachi. "Lishia, you're pulling too hard." She stormed off in front of me, clearly upset, though she wasn't really pulling that hard. Still, I said it anyway. Sure enough, she stopped in her tracks. "I'm sorry, Jibata," she said, her voice softening. "The moment I realized she was your ex, I just lost control. It felt like there was a fire inside me, and I didn't know how to put it out." "Does it still hurt?" Lishia gently massaged my wrist and forearm, her eyes filled with guilt. "Was it her who left you so broken back then?" It seemed that, during all the cheering, Lishia had heard the story about me and Majiachi from someone else. The tale of the graceful, gentle senior and the cheerful, outgoing junior. Majiachi was my first love. She was also the only girl I ever seriously dated. No matter how many times I told myself I had already forgotten her, when she stood before me today, my heart couldn't help but twist painfully. She had a younger brother, an adopted one. After Majiachi got into a relationship, her brother started acting out, even threatening to jump off a building unless she broke up with me. "So that's why you two broke up?" Lishia asked softly. I could only nod, somewhat stiffly. It wasn't because the love was gone. It wasn't because either of us had a problem. But in the end, we had to part ways, full of love and regret. The more passionate we were when we were together, the more disastrous our breakup became. She left me when I loved her the most, without ever looking back. "Do you still like her?" Lishia finally asked, her voice filled with urgency, desperate for an answer. "I don't know." I fell silent, because the truth was I really didn't know if I still liked her. The memories from the past rushed back the moment Majiachi reappeared. Everything came flooding in. All I could feel was a heaviness in my chest. Bada. She's not right for you, Licia said quietly. We hadn't walked very far, so Majiachi easily caught up with us. Someone who can't even control their own emotions isn't suitable for you. Majiachi pointed to the water in her hand. She had just been trying to hand a bottle of water to Licia out of goodwill, only to be rejected with disdain. Back then, I fell for Majiachi. Because no matter what happened, she could always remain calm and handle things perfectly. It was her inner strength that had captivated me, and I had worked so hard to win her over. And you say you're Jibata's future girlfriend, so can I assume you haven't won him over yet? If that's the case, then we're rivals in love. After all, broken mirrors can be mended, and the one I love, I will win back again. After that, a cold war began between me and Li Shir. It wasn't exactly a cold war, but she stopped coming to find me. And every time I tried to reach out to her, Majiachi somehow got in the way. I wanted to explain things to Li Shi online, but no matter how I worded it, it seemed like I couldn't give a clear answer to her question. Do I still like Majiachi? Meanwhile, Majiachi had resumed her pursuit of me. I never expected, after all this time, that she would still remember my preferences. In the mall, Majiachi smiled brightly as she saw the jasmine milk tea in my hand, less ice, 30% sugar. That's right, she said. Jasmine milk tea wasn't something I particularly liked. It was what Majiachi preferred. I like it, she added, assuming I'd gotten it for her, and casually took a sip from the cup in my hand. Yep, still the same flavor. The taste hasn't changed. Neither have you. Majiachi reached out to touch my face, but just then, Licia appeared from nowhere, pulling her hand away. I had no idea how much of our conversation Licia had overheard, but her expression looked grim. She was clearly struggling to hold back. Bada. It's not that you love drinking jasmine milk tea. It's that asterisk she asterisk does, right? Is that true? Licia's face was filled with heartbreak, as if she was waiting for a final verdict, but afraid to hear it. Do you not even know his real preferences? She said, turning to Majiachi. Jibata doesn't like jasmine milk tea, but he always went along with it, drinking it for my sake. And he doesn't like cilantro either. But once I accidentally ordered takeout with cilantro in it, he just smiled and said, it's fine. Then proceeded to pick out every single piece of cilantro before eating. With every word Majiachi said, Licia's expression grew darker. Whenever Licia shared her favorite milk tea with me, I would stubbornly hold onto my jasmine green tea. If there was cilantro in my spicy hot pot, I would just refuse to eat it at all. It seemed like I was especially tolerant with Majiachi, but unusually picky with Licia. So that's how it is, Licia said with a forced nonchalance. She made a sarcastic, international gesture towards Majiachi. You knew he didn't like that milk tea, yet you never bothered to order something he actually liked. Instead, you expected him to change his tastes to suit yours. And you knew he didn't eat cilantro, yet you didn't bother to note it when ordering. Your love only goes that far. Jibata, she turned to me. Are you sure you want to make the same mistake with this woman again? This time, Licia didn't wait for my response. She just finished her words and walked away. But this time, I ran after her. Licia. She stopped when she heard me call her name, but she didn't turn around. I was the one who liked you first, she said softly. You were always so outstanding. I could only keep working hard, trying to catch up to you. I wanted to be someone worthy of standing by your side, but by the time I thought I could, there was already someone else next to you. I knew about Majiachi, even when you were dating her. I knew all along. You had a private account, Licia continued, with only 400 followers, specifically used to document your life with her. You deactivated that account a year ago. I didn't dare ask if you two had broken up. so I could only keep studying day and night. I finally got into Nanjing University. I thought being close to you, I'd have a chance to win your heart. I always thought I could be special somehow. But instead, it seemed like you hated me. Li Xia slowly turned to face me, and I finally noticed her eyes were red, tears welling up but not yet falling. She was trying so hard to hold them back. Li Xia, I've never really hated you. Without thinking, I gently wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. You asked me earlier if I wanted to make the same mistake with Ma Jiaqi again. My answer is this. I'm certain, absolutely certain, that I won't repeat the past. These past few days, I've been reflecting on all the little moments I've spent with Li Xia. Habits can be a powerful thing, and I realized I've grown used to having her in my life. Every time I tried to explain, I couldn't see clearly into my own heart. But it was during that conversation between her and Ma Jiaqi just now that I finally understood the answer. I once loved Ma Jiaqi with all my heart, completely and sincerely, but that was in the past. I hesitated to answer if I still liked Ma Jiaqi, because I wasn't sure what that flutter in my chest meant. But now I know. It wasn't love for Ma Jiaqi. It's nostalgia for the love I once had, I said. Ma Jiaqi doesn't stir up any feelings in me anymore. I think I've fallen for you, Li Xia. I expected her to be excited, maybe even overjoyed, but she just stood there, looking at me in disbelief. Jibata, she whispered, "Can I hug you?" There wasn't even a second of hesitation. The moment I nodded, Li Xia pulled me into her arms, holding me tightly, so tightly that it was almost hard to breathe. But I didn't mind. I knew this was her way of expressing her joy at having me back. She was overjoyed. Jibata, she murmured, "If I win this badminton match against Ma Jiaqi, can I have the chance to officially confess to you?" She rubbed her fluffy head against my neck, playfully nuzzling me like a puppy. She did it on purpose. She knew I couldn't resist her when she acted like this. Her sweet, high-spirited gestures always got to me. "Even if you don't beat her, you can still confess to me," I said. "No, I'll win," she said firmly. "Have asterisk to beat her. I've arranged to meet Ma Jiaqi," I told her, "so I can make it clear and officially turn her down." "Jibata," Ma Jiaqi said when we met, "I've started a company in Suzhou. If you're willing, you can join me after graduation." "Ma Jiaqi," I replied, "I didn't ask to meet you to talk about that. Please stop spreading rumors about our past at school. There won't be any us anymore. School gossip always has an audience, especially when someone like Ma Jiaqi is involved. With her pulling the strings, there were always rumors circulating. And now, with her hinting at it, it seemed she had been encouraging the talk all along. All the sweet memories I had with Ma Jiaqi were being dug up, especially after Ma Jiaqi openly admitted she wanted to pursue me again. As the rumors spread and escalated, there was even a thread on the campus forum titled, "Ma Jiaqi and Jibata reunite today." Ma Jiaqi thought that by using the public's curiosity, she could make me soften toward her, but she miscalculated. The problem wasn't with me, it was with her. And it was a problem she would never be able to fix. I didn't hold back and brought up her adopted brother. That child, Wang Bin, was the orphan son of Ma Jiaqi's parents' close friends. His parents had died saving Ma Jiaqi. That debt of gratitude made the Ma family feel eternally indebted to Wang Bin. Wang Bin was just a child back then. He didn't know better, she said. But he's grown up now. "Ma Jiaqi," I said, "can you stop lying to yourself? Can't you see he's in love with you?" Li Xia, impatient as ever, only gave me half an hour to be alone with Ma Jiaqi, and now she had come to pick me up. Ma Jiaqi was stunned by my words, sitting on the sofa in silence, clearly at a loss for what to say. "I never drank jasmine milk tea to reminisce about you," I told her. "I just got used to drinking it. But from now on, I'll break that habit, and I hope you'll stop making up stories in your head. Once the match is over, leave. There's no future for us without a shred." of hesitation, I turned and walked away because I knew Licia was waiting for me. I didn't want to keep her waiting any longer. Jibata, she called out softly. Can we try holding hands? Ever since I admitted my feelings for her, Licia had grown bolder. She frequently found ways to make little physical contact with me. But every time her hand brushed against mine, she would quickly pull back, nervously checking my reaction. Licia, I said, smiling, you can hold my hand, you can hug me, and you can kiss me too. I couldn't help but laugh at how innocent and shy she looked, even though she normally acted so fearless. In matters of love, it turned out she was a real coward, and I just found out that I was her first love. She had never dated anyone before. I thought my teasing would make her happy, but instead, she shook her head seriously. No, I can't. Not yet. I don't have an official title yet. I don't want to be too forward. Just being able to hold hands is enough for me, she said. As she spoke, she quietly slipped her fingers into mine, starting with just a pinky, then holding my whole hand, and eventually intertwining our fingers. Who could resist someone who seems like a lion on the outside, but is really just a little kitten at heart? I certainly couldn't. The badminton match quickly approached its final round. Since I had turned down Mogyachi that day, all the forum posts about us had been deleted. But unfortunately, Mogyachi didn't show up at the match. Wangbin had heard I was back at Nanjing University, and his emotions were unstable. Just before the match began, I received a friend request from Mogyachi. In the friend request, Mogyachi explained that Wangbin was emotionally unstable and had fallen down the stairs, ending up in the hospital. So I knew Mogyachi wouldn't be coming, and I didn't accept her friend request. She withdrew from the competition, but aside from her teammates, no one else seemed to care, and neither did I. Without Mogyachi's support, our department's team was overwhelmed by Licia's team, facing defeat round after round. In the end, Licia easily secured the championship. When the referee placed the medal around her neck and handed her flowers, inviting her to give a speech, she passed the microphone to one of her teammates. Sorry, host, she said, but I have something more important to do than a victory speech. Under the watchful eyes of the entire crowd, she jumped off the stage and ran toward me, holding a bouquet of flowers she must have prepared earlier. Standing in front of me, earnest and nervous, Jibata, she began. I've liked you for a long time. Will you give me a chance to be your girlfriend and start a relationship with you? If you live in the East, I'll never go West. The crowd erupted with excitement. It wasn't just Mogyachi who knew how to use public attention. Licia was even better at it. I only realized later that this was a grand confession everyone knew about, except me. Licia was announcing to everyone that she liked me and wanted to be with me. Licia, you already know, I said. I could never say no to you, as she joyfully leapt into my arms. The students around us set off confetti in celebration. Love is the surrender of free will, and I'm willing to surrender it with Licia, together. This asterisk bonus chapter 1 asterisk. I never would have imagined that the first thing Licia asked me after becoming my girlfriend would be about that emoji I sent months ago. Who exactly did you send that emoji to? And who did you call wifey? I've been dying to ask you for ages. Licia tickled me on purpose, trying to force a confession out of me. And, well, I gave in pretty quickly, laughing and giving up. It was my good buddy, Zun Yan. Look, here's our chat log, I said, pulling up the conversation on my phone. See, it was my good friend Zun Yan. The emoji was meant for him originally. So, the person I was jealous of for so long, was your buddy? I blinked innocently at her. Yeah, who told you to get jealous over nothing? Curse that Zun Yan, she huffed. I don't care though. Just don't send him that emoji again. I'll still get jealous. And you called him wifey before you ever called me that. Wifey, I said softly. Licia, who had been going on and on, suddenly went silent. Her face turned bright red. and her eyes were filled with deep affection as she looked at me. Her throat bobbed nervously, betraying her thoughts. But even so, Licia still didn't cross that final line. "You can kiss me." I knew she was holding back her urge to kiss me. She was waiting for my permission, until I clearly expressed my consent. She wouldn't rush me. "Licia, you're my girlfriend now. Asterisk kiss me. You can kiss me openly and boldly." Just as I was about to say something more to encourage her further. Before I could say anything more, Licia threw herself into my arms and kissed me passionately. At first, she was hesitant, just testing the waters. But slowly, she deepened the kiss, and soon I was completely lost in the moment. "Is this okay?" I asked with my voice low. But my hands were already being honest, one firmly holding the back of her head, making sure she had no way to pull back. Licia was filled with such intense passion that a simple kiss wasn't enough to satisfy her anymore. But in the end, we didn't go any further. Bonus chapter to asterisk asterisk. After graduation, I decided to continue my studies for a master's degree. During a summer break, Licia suggested taking me to meet her family. "Baby," she said, "we've been together for so long now. When are you going to let our parents know?" She was wearing an apron as she served the final dish of sweet and sour ribs at the table, her face wearing a slightly pouty expression. "I feel like I'm your hidden mistress," she added dramatically. "They say if you can cook, half your rivals disappear." Licia was an especially great cook. So whenever she wanted to get her way, she'd bribe me with delicious food, and usually I'd give in to her wishes. But when it came to introducing her to my parents, I still wasn't ready. After all, we used to call each other siblings, even though we'd moved beyond that. I couldn't shake the fear of our parents disapproving. "Actually, my dad and your dad once talked about us getting married," she said casually. "But you were such a naughty kid back then." My mom couldn't bear the thought. So she said, "Let's leave it to fate." Turns out she smirked. "We were meant to be all along." "Wait, what?" I blinked in surprise. "You knew this all along and didn't tell me?" Just as I was about to ask more questions, Licia popped the last piece of rib into my mouth. "Husband dear," she said playfully, "please forgive me this time. I'll make you some crayfish to make up for it." My roommate once joked that Licia was a pushover. Instead of being upset, Licia took it as a badge of honor. "Listening to your husband means you'll prosper," she laughed. I always listen to Jibata. Asterisk bonus chapter 3 asterisk. The next time I heard about Ma Jiachi, it was news that she was getting married. The groom was none other than Wang Bin. Ma's family had officially cut off their adoption of Wang Bin, turning him from son to son-in-law. It was unexpected, but not surprising. That night, I received a message from Ma Jiachi. She explained that her feelings for Wang Bin were complicated, more about responsibility than love. She didn't want me to misunderstand, but honestly, what was there to misunderstand? I didn't see that message though. Licia had deleted it before I could read it, but the next day, feeling guilty, she confessed to me about deleting the message. She said that while she had deleted it, she had taken a screenshot. "If you want to see it, I still have it," she offered. But I didn't look at it. It didn't matter anymore. Out of old classmate respect. I still had a classmate bring a red envelope to Ma Jiachi's wedding. It was from both me and Licia. Watching Licia bustling around the kitchen, I recalled something she once said. "Falling in love isn't the hard part. Staying in love is." The end. Thank you for reading.